with EXP. Today we're covering the levels and how to get to be and have a 7-figure business in real estate. Do you guys know what 7 figures is? Yes, it's above $1 million. So it sounds fancy and it sounds fun. It's not always as much fun as you probably think it is. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it means and what it takes to actually have a 7-figure business. So if you have a business that's generating in revenue, top line, over $1 million, that means you're doing at a bare minimum probably 70 to 80 transactions annually. Because every single transaction you're going to have ones where you lose a part of the commission, you get negotiated on, things do fall out. So you have to be generating on average probably 5 to 10 closings per month in order to achieve that level of production. And so if that's what you're looking to do, make sure that you understand the pros and cons awarded to that. For instance, when you have that amount of revenue, you typically have, or you're going to need a very large team behind you. Now, it doesn't have to be a team in the sense that you run a real estate team, but you do need to have people that you trust, that you rely on, that can handle all of these things. Because if you do what I did, which is try to get there alone and saving money and hiring only assistants for the Philippines for $5 an hour, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of success. However, if you do it the right way, or the way where you build people up and allow leaders to grow in your organization, then you can get there, and it does take a long time. So it's taken me over 10 years to get here, and if I had to start over and do it again, it would probably take me about 5 or 6, knowing what I know now. So with that being said, a big component of you being able to grow your business is you have to spend a lot more time on the business and a lot less time in the business. So who thinks they know what I mean by that? What does it mean? What are some activities that you spend in the business? What are some things that are in the business activities? Showing homes. Showings, yeah. Yeah, that's 100% in the business. That'll generate revenue, but that's about it. What else?
Open houses.
Open houses, yeah. Keep going. Paperwork. Yeah, keep going. Come on, in the business, all the things that we all do every day. What are some other things that you spend in the prospecting? Yeah, lead generation activities. That's very much working in the business for the most part. Oh, come on, we got more than that. We're better than that. Appointments, thank you. Appointments. John Kiefer, what do you think?
Oh, there's so many.
Just give me one.
Answering email.
Emails. Oh yeah, emails. I don't even think emails are in the business. Emails are like the worst part of the business. Yeah, it's a waste of your time, I promise. Just every email you get, just delete it. I promise you it will solve itself. I'm literally half kidding. Yeah, right?
That explains a lot.
Yeah. Come on, give me one more. What are some in the business activities? All right, how about this? Okay, so follow up, escrow stuff, inspections, contracts, offers, come on, reviewing condo docs, SRPDSs. All right, all of this is in the business. This will generate income to an extent, but it will never, once you do the activity, the energy you put in, the output is done. It will no longer produce any type of reward or aspect or continuation of your business. So now when you're working on the business, what are things that you have to do, or what are examples of this? Oh, come on, guys. Come on. Marketing. Okay, perfect. That's a huge category, but I agree. What about writing SOPs? Writing operations for your business? Branding? Yeah, I'm going to put that under marketing. What about reviewing a P&L? What about designing a website? What about recruiting? Hiring? writing job descriptions, JDs. So, do you see how all of this stuff is kind of client-facing? And all of this stuff is like back-end. This is stuff that will drive sales, and whether it's bringing in more customers, more clients, or it's making your process more efficient, or it's confirming that your profit and loss statement is working in the direction that you're going, meaning the activities that you do are giving the results that you want, or designing new marketing, such as websites, lead generation platforms, hiring a team of people. It doesn't have to be agents. I mean, your lender is on your team. Your escrow officer is on the same team as you. You have to make sure, if you're just spending, and I know most agents do this, 80 or 90% of your time just working in your business, just chugging, after that deal is done, there is no more benefits to that paycheck that you get. It is done. Whereas everything, all this stuff, if you really take the time and say, you know what, I'm going to dedicate 30% of my week to making my business better and figuring out what ways and what components to do that, you will be ultimately way more successful than the agent that just shows up and sells a couple houses a month. Because this is not sustainable and continual. This is. And so what I want you guys to think of in your pursuit to grow a large, thriving business, one, we talked about the pros and cons, which are, if you're running a large, thriving business, hopefully you have great income. And now, everybody keep this in mind. Your gross is not your profit. Is that right? What you gross is not what you profit. So if you gross $1 million, you're definitely not profiting $1 million. Like, I promise you, you are not at 100% margin. You're probably at a 20 to 40%, depending on how you run it. Meaning, every dollar you make, you keep 20 cents. Maybe 40%, 40 cents if you're like really, really good. And so when you look at this and you say to yourself, okay, look at your calendar. Well, how am I actually making my business better every single day? And break it up in these three models. If you start with this and work backwards from where you want to be, so somebody give me a goal for how many units they want to sell this year. 12. Okay, anybody have a higher goal than 12? What you got out?
36.
36. Anybody have a higher goal than 36 units this year? That's great. So 36 units is right on the brink between working in your business. You could do this, but you would kill yourself if you don't have this stuff set up. Like, you could get there, but you are just constantly plowing and chugging away rather than figuring out what your highest and best skill is and how you're delegating to get there, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So everybody here has three models in their business, whether they know it or not. The very first one, which is what we spent the last 4 months working on, which are your lead generation models. So here's my question. How many leads do every one of you, write this down, how many leads are you taking in every month? If you don't know that answer, then you have a tracking and data problem. And if you don't know where you are, it's impossible to figure out and get to where you want to go. That's like saying, hey, I want to fly to Europe. Which way should I go? And it's like, well, where are you? It's like, well, I don't know. It's like, well, I can't tell you where to go if you don't know where you're at. You have to have a lead generation model because you need to know how many leads are coming in, what your conversion ratio is, how many appointments do you go on to reach your goal. And if your goal is 36 closings, that means you're probably going to have to go on 72 to 84 appointments. That means you're going to probably have to set about 125 to 175 appointments this coming year, which means you're going to have to have about 1,700 conversations this year to reach that goal. So working backwards is going to make your life a lot easier so you know where you're going and where you're coming from. First model, lead generation. Second model is a budget model. Who has a budget? Oh, God, Jesus Christ. Come on. All right, so write on your paper, the first thing you should do when you leave here is make a budget. You need to know how much you're spending on your business. doing this for fun. You're not like showing up to work like to make no money. Like you're not doing it for charity, are you, Stephanie? No, I didn't think so. Is anybody doing this for charity?
No.
Great. All right, so we got to have a budget. We need to know these things. So first one. Okay, so write this down. The very first thing you need to know is what your average monthly income is over the last 12 months. Take an average. Take this seriously, guys. We're not here for an hour just to not do anything. There you go. All right, so you got to know what your average monthly income is. You have to know what your average monthly expenses are. How much are you spending every single month? Are you spending $500, $5,000? Are you spending $50,000 every single month? You got to know this. And you have to know the breakdown too. How much is going to salaries and staff? How much is going to lead generation expenses? How much is going to marketing? How much is going to keeping up with your personal life? How much is going into that boat that you bought that you thought was going to be amazing, but in reality it turns out to be a money pit and it's sitting in a slip and it's going to cost you even more money than you expected? Maybe things like that. Okay, so now you should very quickly be able to determine what your profit is. So you take your income, you subtract your expenses, and that's your profit. Now, of course, the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to then take your 25 or 30%, and that's taxes. Just kick it out. Don't even, pretend it doesn't even exist. And so now let's say you're generating a profit of, call it $4,500 every month. Just on average, you're making $4,500. Then you need to determine how much are you going to spend on yourself. How much is going to pay your mortgage? How much is going to go to groceries, car, gas, all of these things. And so now we know three things. We know what your income is, we know what your average expenses are, and then we know what your personal expenses are. So income of the business, expenses of the business, personal expenses. And then you can say, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to double down maybe on some lead generation efforts. I want to do double the marketing. I want to do double or triple the direct mail. Maybe, Sonia, you had 5 or 6 closings from direct mail alone last year. And then everything else only gave you 1 or 2 closings. And you said, well, the cost of it is far outweighing the production. So maybe it's not worth it. If you're not doing this, you're going to have a really hard time to know these types of things. And then you're going to have your operational model, which as you're going through this, here's my tip. Everybody write this down. Your operational model should strictly be based around the premise of delegation. So if you are really good, if you're like Stephanie and you are just a fierce negotiator when you get to a listing appointment, and every appointment you go on you get, you're just listing. Like you just walk in and they start praying to you because you're so good. If you're like Stephanie, then you should probably go only on appointments. So determine next, what is your highest and best use of your time? Then, once you know what you're really good at, and assuming it's productive, either lead generation or appointments, then what you should figure out is how can I find somebody that's better at everything else? Is Michael Kochman in the room? Well, Michael is our operations manager, and I will tell you, Michael and I are 100% opposite ends of the spectrum. I move really, really fast and break everything. So on a weekly basis, I tell every person in our company that I broke something, I'm sorry, and I will fix it. And then Michael will jump in and say, okay, well maybe next time we shouldn't make a decision in 1 minute, and we should work through it for a day or 2 or a week. And I'll be like, okay, I'll meet you in the middle. We got 10 minutes to get it done. And you need to find people like this because they slow you down or speed you up depending on what your style is. And so everything that you don't want to do or you're not good at, you need to partner with somebody who is. for example, I am not an expert videographer. Guess who is? Nico. And Nico is so much better at that entire world of things than I ever will be. Now, could I spend 4 to 8 years going to school and college and learning it? No. But I could partner with somebody like Nico and I say, hey, I'll trade my services or my costs for your services, and you reach an arrangement. And it works really, really well when you treat everybody like a partner. Is this landing? Is this too high level?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. All right, so we've got your models. We've established where your business comes from, how much you spend, and how everything is done. And now it's a matter of you looking at the reports on each one of these on a weekly and monthly basis saying, hey, this works really, really well. I need to double down on this. This is awful. We were running Facebook ads for a long time and we just were not having the success we wanted. We played around with it, we cut it, we started it, we played with the ads, and we just could not get Facebook to be as productive as we wanted it. So ultimately we decided to stop doing Facebook ads. And that was a very clear business decision that we made because we wanted to go another route. And when you look at your business this way and not in like, can somebody grab me a napkin? Hey Lex, can I get like a napkin? Oh, wow, to the rescue, thank you. So when you look at your business in this way, it's very easy to see how you're going to be able to get to 7 figures. So everybody do some math on the back of their worksheet or wherever, and I want you to do this. Write down your average commission. Write down the number of closings you want to have this year. Multiply them together and get a number. You got this, Kat. I believe in you. You can just right there. Yeah, just sure, take mine. Yeah. All right, so income times closings equal gross profit. L, what's your gross profit goal for the year?
760.
760,000 GCI. Awesome. So L, can I use you as a real world example?
Yeah.
That's great. It's a lot easier to do when the numbers are bigger. All right, so this is L's gross income goal for 2023. That's a pretty great goal. Would you guys agree that L has a really fantastic goal? I love this. So now, L, question. We know you're going to do 36 transactions. If you include, just in general, closing gifts, costs, time, maybe staff, just every single thing you're going to do during those transactions, how much do you think you're going to spend per transaction, per buyer or seller? Like, lump it all in. I know there's like staging and photos of sales for spies, but just give me a rough number per transaction.
Let's say
500?
5,000.
5,000 per transaction? No, expense. No, I don't think you're going to spend more. Let's say this. Let's say that she spends per transaction with closing gifts and everything else. I'm just going to go a little light and average the buy and sell side, because sell sides are always more. And I'm just going to say it's $2,000 on average. All right, so we know L is going to spend $72,000 this year on cost of goods sold. And here's the downside. When one of those listings don't sell, guess what? You still pay that $2,000. That doesn't go away. Or yeah, it happens. You will have listings that don't sell. And so I'm actually going to take this number and I'm going to bump it up a little bit higher, because you're probably going to have 40 to 45 units that go under contract that you waste all this time, money, and resources on that don't ever become a profit. That is the nature of our business. So we know this 72 is probably going to become at least about 100,000. It'll probably be more, but that's a good round number. Okay, so we know we just lost $100,000. But you know what I forgot to do? If you're savvy with your taxes, you're going to be at about 25% marginal tax rate at this income level. So you'll be at the 37% bracket, but with your deductions and everything else, you're also probably looking at about 700 or 25%. So 25% of 760 is what? $25% of 760 is what?
190.
190.
190,000. Wow, okay, so now we know we've already spent $290,000 so far, and we haven't even gotten into lead generation, marketing, staff, all kinds of other expenses. This is why it's easier when the numbers are bigger. Okay, so now we know we've got COGS, cost of goods sold, we've got our taxes. What's the next expense? Yeah, it's going to be between staff, marketing, and lead generation, depending on how you want to do it. So if you are a great real estate professional, you're probably, meaning you're doing the things that drive the business, you're probably going to need to spend about 10% of your income on marketing alone. Meaning, you're going to spend another $76,000 strictly on marketing costs. Guaranteed. Like that is, you have, and a lot of people say, I want to earn 760 and then I'll spend the 76. It doesn't work that way. You have to spend the 76 to earn the 760. That's how it works. Now, if you're like someone like Al and you aspire to have a really great business, you're going to need, at this level, you need an assistant. You need somebody who can do the things for you that you're either not very good at or don't have the time or capacity to do. And so an assistant, you can pay people bare minimum, like 15 bucks an hour, 12 bucks an hour, but I can tell you that you're not going to have good longevity in that position, and it's not going to work out as easily as you think. The cost of actually hiring somebody better is cheaper in the long run. Keep that in mind. So we know that you're going to spend a minimum, if you really get virtual, you're going to spend about $20,000. If you get in-house, you're going to spend about $60,000 for an assistant over the course of a year. Right, Otto? Thank you. Silence your phones for me, guys, please. Okay, so here's where we're at. Elle, you have made $760,000. Congratulations, you are amazing. Nice work. You spent $190,000 on taxes. Ouch. This is the name of the game. You gotta play it. It's the only other way. It's either that or you go to prison. So it's like, take your pick. You spent $72,000. You spent $100,000 on cost of goods sold. Some of the places didn't sell. You had to pay for staging. There was issues. Your seller moved out of state. You had to get it fumigated, and he didn't have any money, so you spotted him, and then he forgot to pay you back. It happens. $100,000. You spent 10% of your income on marketing. Remember, you have to spend this before you make it. It's this first, then you do this. You spent $20,000 to $60,000 on your support staff, on people that can help you do things better than yourself. What's left over? What is that?
Nice.
130, what?
533.
533, okay.
334.
334,
Yeah.
okay. So now there are going to be a lot of little things in there. Your car, your expenses, you bring clients out to lunch, dinners. What else do you pay for, Al? You have to get a new dress for the photo shoot.
Yeah, mortgage.
Well, mortgages, that's personal. That's personal. Yeah. So, but you had to buy that Balenciaga dress for $3,000. That was a write-off. Yeah.
Travel.
Well, for conferences maybe. So you're probably going to spend, if you're at this level over the course of the year, you're going to just spend 5% on bullshit. It's the way it works. So you'll probably end up with around $275,000. That's what you made. And that's pretty good. But here's the thing. L, during this year, if this is the model, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna have a really hard time going on a vacation. Yes.
No time.
You're gonna have no time. So now an alternative, Elle could do this so many ways. She could find a partner agent, somebody like Ryan, and maybe Ryan takes over part of this and she shares commissions with them. Or maybe she hires a licensed support staff that she pays $120,000 a year. That does really well. Now this goes down, but her time goes up. There's so many different ways, but this is a budget model for how to run a 7-level or close to 7-level real estate business. But here's the thing. Elle, you will never get here unless you start by investing in the marketing of your business. Unless you find the right people to help you with the right things. And all of that comes back to is working on your business. If all you are focused on every day is just, I gotta make some calls, I gotta do this, instead of sitting down and saying, okay, what is the best and most valuable part of my time, part of my day, and how can I really optimize it to get there? And when you take an hour or two every day and just, you're writing operations for how you like to do things, you're sending out emails, you're scheduling events, you're building a brand, and you're not just chasing deals. Because when you do it this way, you're never chasing deals. When you do it this way, you're never chasing deals. But when you just show up and you try and grind, it becomes way, way more challenging. Right. Okay. One second. Yes, okay. So, I've kind of been thinking about this lately. Write this down too. You get paid to do your job. You get referred when you do more than your job. And so the amount of referrals that you receive is a direct impact on how much additional work you put in for your clients. I don't just mean you show up and you do the job and sell their home or help them buy them their home. The extra stuff that you do, the extra mile, that is where referrals come from. And so if you're not receiving one referral per year for every 1 out of 3 past clients, that means you're not going the extra mile for them. And maybe your business isn't you go the extra mile. Maybe your business is you do exactly what you promised, and that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's many models on the island that get away for doing, there's companies on island that get away for doing less than what they promise. And I have worked with a lot of them. And so as you're reflecting on where you want your business to be, like really, really let this sink in. This is your business. And nobody else is going to do it or run it the way that you want to be done. So it has to make, you have to lead. And especially if you have support staff or a team of people that work alongside, you have to lead by example and set the right foundations in place. And it's kind of like when I grew our company, I was learning everything over the last 11 years from scratch, everything from the first time. And so for the first 5 or 6 years, I was really building on top of kind of a poor foundation. So imagine trying to build this amazing multi-luxury, multi-story home on top of sand. You're going to have so many things that come up because every single thing you try and do, it's shifting, it's moving, it's cracking. But whereas when you start with a strong foundation, which are your models, which is what is your budget, how do you as a company generate leads, and how do you structure your operations? And when I say operations, all I really mean are just what is the checklist for how things are done? And when you build that and you establish these are the values and how we run, this is how we do it, everything else becomes easier. But when all you're focused on is showing up and making a couple phone calls, you have a really hard time growing an actual business. Hey.
Quick question.
Sure.
Do you think there's an advantage being an agent versus a broker using this model and formula? Because I'm sure there's some limitations on the being an agent side versus a broker.
Yeah, so his question is, are there limitations on being an agent versus a broker by looking at this model? Can you expand a little bit more? I think I know what you mean, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I guess one is hiring other people to be able to represent the brokerage, right? That's one. Maybe also on the side, some of the LLC formations you can do or cannot do, right, in broker versus agent. A lot of tax for tax purposes as well. Yeah, just want to know from when you transition.
Sure. So what he's really asking is, how does this, what we just went over, compare to being an agent versus a brokerage owner? And so our company, we operate essentially like a brokerage. We're kind of a co-brokerage. And so it's a slightly different model where certain items in the brokerage are provided for. Everybody in our company has access to our support staff, so we all kind of share support staff, and we all share lead sources and lead models. And so there's people that set that all up for us, and so it's kind of done already. And then we as agents just basically tap into it and work it. And so that's a good question. There's really no right or wrong answer. I mean, you can run this very much as a solo agent. However, if you're trying to do that amount of business, you need people no matter what. You need staff. I mean, even before maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I was solo and production agent, I was doing about 48, 50 deals a year, and I noticed that the level of the quality of the services I would provide to my customers was going down, like rapidly. And if you're trying to do more than 25 or 30 deals without a really great support team behind you, you're going to give really shitty service. Like, that's just the fact of it. And so you could run this as a solo agent, and the only difference between a brokerage is between an agent is you do every deal, and a brokerage is agents do the deal. And so really the question is, who is the person that has the conversation with the clients? Versus you can set all of this up for yourself and only use it, or a brokerage could set it all up and share it with yourself to the level of extent that you need. So there's a lot of ways to run it, yeah. And there's no right or wrong reason to run anything you want. But here is what is really important to know is if you don't set up these models in your business, then everything you do becomes more challenging. But when you have them set up, no matter how they're set up, it's a lot easier for you to recruit people like lenders and escrow officers to your team to really make sure to say, hey, I've got this, I'm really trying to grow, and this is what I'm trying to do. But if you don't have that clear vision, it's like, well, who wants to join a sailboat race where nobody knows where the sailboat's going? It's like, that's not very much fun. Yeah. So, no, good question. Thank you. Okay, so today was a lot more high level. Usually we'll go really deep into specifics of lead generation models. I think for most of us, this might have been a little too high, but I think it's good to understand where you're going and where you're trying to grow to. So just remember, next week is Prince Kuhio Day, so we won't be here, but we'll open it up for questions or comments. I'd like to hear maybe a takeaway or two, and then we'll wrap it up. Yeah, nice work. Autumn.
This has nothing to do with it, but whoever brought an agent.
Oh, the raffle. Yeah, we'll do that at the end. Cool. Steph, can we hear some takeaways?
Yeah, so I was just thinking about how we have a budget for the brokerage, we spend money on marketing, we're not real strict. Every first week of every month we look at the budget, but it's not. My takeaway is we need to be more organized on if this is the budget, this is exactly what we're following, to see if that actually works, to then know where you can make those changes.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to like, oh yeah, that's what we're spending, here's what we're doing, now here's what we're changing.
Yeah.
We need to be able to look back at what did we do and what was most effective so we land in the right place.
Yeah. And my tip on that too is it's really hard to have a great budget and P&L unless you have a dedicated person who that's all they do. Like I used to try and do it myself and it was so bad. Eventually we hired an accounting firm, like not a CPA, an accounting firm, and you pay them a money, that's how it works. And yeah, I mean, that's their only job. And they send those reports, you set the deadlines, they send it to you, you as a company review it, and then that's it. And if you start to go over budget, they're the ones that are like, hey, what happened? Why are you over? You said you were only going to spend this much. And it's like, oh. So it's almost like you end up having this shareholder that's like invested in your business who like yells at you, but like they're an accountant, so they're very direct. They're like, yeah, Stephanie, you said you were going to spend $28,500. I see you spent $33,000. Why did you do that? And you're just like, oh, I'm sorry, Yuki, my fault. I get it. Yeah. So good takeaway. Yeah.
Escrow companies that offer all those services like postcards and DMK information, and they'll do emails to all your list, or all the agents on the island.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you have any recommendations of any escrow companies to use?
So we use First Am, First American. Yeah, he brought up the idea of partnering with escrow companies, and I've done it. We still do it. First American pays for all of our folders. I mean, get what you can from them, but just know that they're never going to be as dedicated to it as you will be. And you actually brought up a really good point. Does anybody know that so the hiring progression, when you guys hire your first people in your organization, you're going to typically start with a generalist. This is an assistant. They do everything okay. They do everything, it's like, it's all right. They do a decent job at it, it's fine. And then eventually you're going to hire a specialist. So that would be somebody like Lexi in the back, who's our marketing manager. She knows, and the specialists are going to know more about that topic than you ever will, because Walter, you don't have us time to spend getting a 6-year marketing degree. Like you'll understand it, but you need somebody that knows it better than you do, because then they can give you good advice. And so when you build your business with people that are smarter than you are, even if it's not, I don't want to say smarter, but if they're more knowledgeable about a specific field, then you're really setting yourself up for success. But also know you have to be willing to let go of the ego and realize that you don't know everything, and maybe they know better than you, and when they tell you what to do, you have to listen, because it's like, well, what are you paying them for if you don't listen to the advice that they give you? So yeah, great point.
Yeah. Or how about tech support? Hiring people to fix your office computer goes down.
Yeah, I would
And they build websites.
yeah, just yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, you could. Yeah. Cool. Hey.
So there's a lot of teams in play, right? Like,
Mhm.
Or nationally, globally, you see a lot of these teams. And so for yourself, I just want to kind of hear your insight. Like, what are you guys doing to like climb the hill, right? Against some of these more notable teams that. When I first started, I remember that was one of the pitches from a lot of brokerages, right? They're like, we have this team, this person, this superstar, and so what are you guys doing to kind of?
Sure. So his question is basically I'll tell you kind of how it works, like the whole scale to break down, and then I'll share some things that we're doing. Thank you, good question. So you've got the levels of agents in any business. You have the solo agent. Typically they're brand new, they're just starting out. They'll have a broker, they'll have somebody that they call for advice. Most brokerages won't have a whole lot of formal training where you can literally just sit in and shadow with somebody. It's kind of like, here's a couple tools, good luck. That's where I started in my brokerage when I first joined. It sucked. I did terrible. I didn't sell a single house. I think I sold one house in my first 2 years. And so I was not good. I did not start good at this business whatsoever. Then you'll have kind of the next tier, which are people that are doing business. They're leveraged. They have a team of people, whether it is lenders, agents they partner with, escrow officers, home inspectors. They have a solid team around them. And I don't mean team in the sense of team like some of the teams at brokerages you see. Then you have people that are running brokerages. These are the owners of locations, the owners of Coldwell Banker, the owners of Keller Williams. All of them are owned by one or multiple people. The only difference is eXp brokerage is owned by one person, and it's a stock company, versus Keller Williams is more privately owned, so it's slightly different. And then you'll have organizations which are teams. So I won't say them, but they're typically usually named after the team leader or the one person in charge. And it's kind of the hero and minion model, where you'll have one person that is on all of the deals. And then you'll usually have like showing assistants or listing partners, things like that. And usually the agents are there just to help the lead agent do their jobs. And then you have, I think we're probably the only one on island. I would refer to us as the co-brokerage model, where it's basically you have a fair amount of agents that share support staff among all each other, that you share marketing. So instead of already having out the gate a $50,000 overhead, well now if there's 20 agents, you have a $2,500 overhead, and you get a overhead coming from your closings. And now you get access to a lot of the support that you would not have had otherwise. So it kind of depends. Like we really focus on, for a long time we were focusing on how do we add more value to the customer. So we did a lot of things and went really deep in making sure that our buyers and sellers were having a really great experience. Then we went through, okay, how do we make sure that the agents are getting the same thing? So we focused really heavily on agent experience during transactions before and after. Then we focused very heavily on training, which is something, as you can see, this is what we do here. And then we focused very heavily on marketing for a long time. So we would always kind of every quarter pick one or two really strong focuses, and that was it. And that was the only thing we focused on, and we put blinders on, and everything else, like the shiny object syndrome, unless it was on our quarterly priority or it was like an immediate fire that had to be fixed right away, then we would just really focus on improving systems over and over time. Yeah, it took a while.
What were they again? Education, experience, marketing?
We focused on, so client transaction experience, agent transaction experience, agent training, marketing. There's been quite a few. Yeah. Cool. I think that's about it, guys. Any other questions? Yeah.
So according to this number,
Yes.
so are these very close to reality?
Is this close to? It depends. It could be. Yeah.
According to your experience.
We run right now probably a 25% profit margin on average, 20% maybe, well 20 to 25%. So if the business earns $1 million in gross commission income, there's about 200 to 250,000 left over at the end of the year.
Okay, that's pretty normal.
Yeah, it's pretty normal. I mean, it depends. Like, if you don't have staff, salaries, if you work from home, I mean, there's so many ways that you can probably get that up a lot higher. I mean, when I was a solo, agents will have a significantly higher profit margin. I mean, pushing 75, 80%. But it also depends on the level of their business. Like, they're not going to grow it beyond, a dozen transactions. And a mentor of mine told me once, there's two ways to be successful in real estate. The first way is you do it for 40 years, and eventually everybody just knows that you're a realtor. And after about year 40, you will start selling like crazy. Or you commit, you put the time in, you spend the money now. It costs money to run a business. You spend it. Because I will say, people think that real estate doesn't have an overhead. It is extraordinarily high overhead. Like, if you're doing this business well, you could be spending $30,000 to $50,000 every single month. And like, I will tell you, it's scary when the sales stop and those expenses don't. Like, it's a real thing. I've been there. It's not fun. Yeah.
How are you doing this year, this month, this year?
Oh, this year is great. Yeah. Last year sucked.
Oh.
Yeah. I won't say it sucked, but yeah, it was the second half of last year like was way lower for us. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this business?
It's grown. It's slow and steady. I mean, you implement one thing, right? You don't just show up and do this overnight. Like, this is an 11-year process where it's like, you implement one thing every day over the course of 11 years, and before you know it, you're an overnight success. Rob?
Okay, if you were to start all over again, I'll let you know, what would be the first 3 things you focus on?
His question is, if I was to start all over again, what would be the first 3 things that I would literally, okay, hypothetically, let's say I move to a new market, I would take a full week to answer that question. I would I would lock myself in a cabin for a week before I did a single thing. And I would answer what that question was over probably a period of 7 days. Yeah, that's the first thing I would do. Yeah.
And from your experience, what
Sure.
would you think would be like the top 5 that you'd be choosing?
All right, so I see where you're at. So here's the thing. Here's the question. Everybody's, well, what's the silver bullet? What's like the one thing or the 3 things or the 5 things? So here's my example. And Rob, we're going to go through this exercise. Do you have a vehicle? Do you have a car? Okay. If you had to just get rid of everything in your car but 3 components and it still had to run, what 3 components, individual components of that car could you keep to keep it running? Engine, tires, steering wheel, no brakes, no transmission, no gas tank. Would that car go anywhere? No. So here's the question, same thing. If you keep 3 components of your business, is it still going to run? No. I promise you, it will crash and burn. And it won't even crash or burn. It will just stick there, and it just be like, oh, that sucks. So that's the thing. But to answer your question, though, remember those 3 models? Budget, lead generation, operational? That's it. Those are the 3 models. That's what you got to work on. And you got to dig deep because you've got to learn how to run. I would start with lead generation. Know how to get people coming in the door. Know how to get deals going. Then it's like, okay, once you have leads coming in, get your operations. How are you going to close them? How are you going to get them in escrow? How are you going to make sure they're happy? How are you going to make sure that they don't sue you? Then, once you start making money, okay, now start working on your profit, your budget. Okay, where does that come from? Where does that apply? How does this work? Oh, okay, that's a better choice than this. Yeah. But you can't be very careful trying to choose 1 to 3 things. Like, it's really, you just start with 1, and then you add 2 and 3, and before you know it, you've done 1,000 to 10,000 different things. And that is what really gets you there. If you're brand new, and you're just like, all I want to do is sell 1 house, I would just say knock on every door in your neighborhood. Just knock on every single door, introduce yourself, bring a flyer, or don't, I don't care. Ask for their number if you don't have a flyer. And you will get business. Like when I started, I watched a video on YouTube of a guy close an expired. And I was like, okay, I don't know anybody here in Hawaii. I have no experience, and I drive a moped. So obviously I can't bring buyers around. So I have to work with sellers, and I have to work with sellers that I don't know. So how can I close deals? And I went to Google and YouTube, and I was like, how to find sellers as a realtor. And I heard about expired listings, and basically they said, here's what you do. You sit at a phone for 8 hours a day for 6 or 7 days a week, every single day, and just do it for a year, and just call every single expired every single day, and just call all of them 10 to 20 or 30 times. And this is what the guy said. And I was like, well, I can do that. Like, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten in weeks. I need to do this. And so that is what I did. So I would work 80 or 90-hour weeks, and like that was just my life for a couple of years. And then eventually I learned that there's better ways and easier ways. But I figured it out. And I made it happen, and it sucked, and I did not enjoy it. And I wouldn't do that way again. Yeah, I would probably just say, just knock on every door in your neighborhood, tell them you're a realtor, ask for their number, get 500 people, you're going to sell 10 homes just like that. Yeah, not just like that, but there's more to it than that. Yeah. Cool. All right, everybody, good job. Good work today. And I will see you all 2 weeks from now, 11 a.m. here at the Yacht Club. Good work. Raffle. Oh, we have a raffle. Okay? There is a $25 to $500 Amazon gift card. You'll find out how much it actually is when you get it. And what were the requirements to get the? Come on, Autumn. Everybody, this is Autumn. A-L-M. We love Autumn. So everybody say hi, Autumn.
So did anyone bring
did you folks hear about?
Email.
Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna see you again. Step. Oh. Okay, well then you know what? You win the $25 gift card. That was easy. I didn't have to do drawing. So, yeah, no, thank you. So next Monday, we won't have a Monday Masterminds, but the following Monday after that, then remember for the next time to bring an agent with you, and then you can be entered into the drawing.
Good job, everybody. 2 weeks from now, we're covering negotiation techniques, specifically related to real estate. So what are some things we do to get better price deals, negotiate more, negotiate hard, things to be aware of. It's a whole conversation. So see you guys all then.
I'm gonna mail.